this reform is first and foremost about the Nigerian people. So it is people-centered. And that is why, for example, Mr. President said we shouldn't tax seed because we want people to be able to invest and make a lot of money. We want them to be very wealthy and then they can pay taxes. We also don't want to tax poverty because if people are poor and they can't meet their basic needs, they can't pay taxes to the government. We want to enable small businesses, large businesses, foreign investors, local investors. So the primary focus of the reforms is the people and it's about prosperity.
This is business news. The Lagos State government has continued to demonstrate the power of responsible tax revenue management by directly impacting the entrepreneurial landscape of the state. Over the past 4 years, the state has invested over 8.4 billion naira to support more than 12,000 micro, small, and medium enterprises, showcasing their steadfast commitment to fostering an economy where businesses can thrive and no one is left behind. The state governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, who disclosed this during the 2025 Micro Enterprise Support Initiative (MESI), organized by the Ministry of Women Affairs and Poverty Alleviation to empower micro, small, and medium enterprises, stated that the additional 1,700 dedicated individuals, women, men, and youth are being empowered at the event with the essential tools, equipment, and cash grants to boost their businesses. Sanwo-Olu reiterated his administration's commitment to fostering an environment where every resident, particularly women, youths, and aspiring entrepreneurs, can achieve their businesses' aspirations. When we uplift one entrepreneur, we uplift an entire family, a whole community, and ultimately the future of Lagos. And that's it on Business News.
Calling on all tax professionals, policy makers, and business leaders to be a part of keynote sessions, expert panels, and transformative workshops designed to drive economic growth. The 27th Annual Tax Conference of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria is here. Date is 12th to 16th of May 2025. Venue is the Abuja Chambers for Commerce and Industry. We bring you 5 impactful days of insight, strategies, and solutions. Theme is Taxation for Development, Policies, Law, and Implementation. Discover groundbreaking ideas, engage in powerful discussions, and network with top professionals shaping the future of taxation. Mark your calendars. Together, we formulate. Together, we fabricate. Don't miss it.
Nigeria has struggled with low tax compliance and high informality in the economy. How will these reforms encourage more businesses and individuals to enter the tax net?
You know, I've always been of the view that Nigeria has a tax net that has a lot of wrong people inside it and has a lot of people that should be inside the net and they're not there, either completely outside of the net or some of them are inside the net with one finger. The rest of the body is out. So if you are taxing people who are earning 30,000 naira, somebody is trying to... So there are people who do petty trade.
Yeah.
And they put the stuff they are selling on a tray, right? And the whole thing they are selling, the capital plus profit, is less than 5,000 naira. And we are chasing them. That's wrong, right? No sane society should treat their most vulnerable citizens like that. So one of the things we've done in this reform is get the poorest people out of the net. We want their data, but not to be paying taxes. And bring the rich people into the net because they should be there and they should be there 100%. Not telling me that you earn 2 million naira when you have a property where the rent alone is 50 million in 1 year. That's not fair enough. So By ensuring that we design the system properly, that's number one.
Okay.
Number two is to use intelligence. And I keep saying intelligence. So today, there's hardly anything you do. Whether you call yourself informal sector or formal sector, it doesn't matter. There's hardly anything you do that does not leave a trail behind. So you see, these informal sector people we're talking about, they have mobile phones. Many of them have POS that they use for their business. Many of them have bank accounts. Many of them have BVN, they have voters card, they have NIN. Some of them even travel abroad. They have an international passport. They buy cars and they register it. They buy motorcycles. You know, you can't just put your vehicle on the road without registering it, right? They build houses, they get permits. Even if they did not get permits, when they finish building the house, you guess what they'll do? They'll ask for the electricity company to connect them to electricity. You know, all those is intelligence.
Yeah.
So if I generate a report about everybody that connected to electricity for the first time, it tells me new people in new places or even new houses, you know. So you then need to get that data. Somebody goes to the mall and they spend money, they use their card, that's intelligence. So once we do all of that, when people know that if they evade, that there will be consequences. You know, the reason why the compliance rate is high in developed countries is not because they are saints. It is because in those countries, when you violate the law, there are consequences.
Yeah.
The same reason why they don't drive on red, because you drive on red, there is not even a human being to say don't drive. So the system captures you and you face the consequences. In Nigeria, if you drive on red, chances are that nobody questions you. I know it's improving in Lagos State now with smart cameras. Or sometimes a police will stop you, not because they want to enforce the law, but because they want to extort. So the same thing with the tax system. If evasion will have consequences, more people would comply. And what we've also done is we've made tax evasion more expensive. And I'll give you an example. So if you import this mobile phone and it's 200,000 naira, so the natural motivation you have is to under-declare it so you don't pay too much import duties. And then when it comes to claiming capital allowance on it, you want to state the correct amount or even overstate it so you can claim more allowances. And people are doing that and getting away with it. Under the new system, that will no longer be possible because the systems are connected. And if you haven't paid the right amount of duties or VAT on this device, you cannot claim any deductions at all for corporate tax purposes. So which means if you were hoping to save 5,000 naira, you think twice about losing the whole value of this device in terms of capital allowances or tax deduction. So we've done that across the different tax laws, and we're confident that over time it will help to improve compliance. One point I need to make is that when we talk about tax compliance, for us is the revenue you generate from tax compliance is a secondary consideration. The primary consideration is that to create a fair society, if you and I are doing the same business and you're very honest and you pay your taxes, and I'm the guy who doesn't care, right? Anything goes. When they show up, I'll be angry with them, I'll fight them. If I can no longer fight, I'll bribe somebody and move on. What we are creating is we're creating a system that is rewarding me as a dishonest person and punishing you because you're paying taxes and I'm not paying. I'll have more profit to even fight you when it comes to competition. So making everybody comply when they need to is actually a bigger conversation about the society we're trying to create. But of course, revenue is also important, but that's a secondary consideration.
The reforms introduce a progressive tax structure with rates escalating up to 25%. Do you anticipate non-compliance among high-income earners, and what measures are in place to prevent any form of non-compliance within this group?
Yeah, so it's hard to pay tax anywhere in the world. It's hard to pay tax by any class of people, whether they're rich or poor, right? But the difference with the high-income earners is they have the resources. They have the network, they have the connection, so they can call the governor, they can call the president, right? They can also hire the best lawyers and accountants to help them move things around. So we are mindful of that. One of the things we've done is not just the tax table that says you pay a higher rate the more you earn. It's also that we've cleaned up all the very confusing allowances and deductions. So the scope for you to maneuver is significantly limited. That's number one. Number two is we've also included in the tax reforms some reporting that must be done by banks. So if you're really a high income earner, you can't hide your income. So which means if you don't tell us, we're going to get information from third parties. Now, when it comes to, because now we know what you earn, we can estimate your liability if you refuse to do so. The next question is, what if they still don't pay? What do you do? So we've strengthened the power of substitution in the tax reforms. What that means is the taxman, once they establish that you're owing, let's say, for example, you're a high net worth individual and you need to pay like 20 million to Lagos State and you refuse to pay. We look at all your bank accounts and we can substitute your bank account for the amount you're owing the government. So you can't take money out, there's a post no debit until you pay the amount or the money is taken from the account. The government can also distrain on your physical asset, like you have a property and so on and so forth. But we don't want to get to all that. We want citizens to see the reason why paying taxes is good for society. And also they are in their enlightened self-interest that when they pay taxes, they have less things to worry about. Roads will be good. You have less insecurity. Government can provide welfare and social services, build infrastructure, and just provide a conducive environment for everyone. So the message is more like everyone should do their bit by being honest with their declaration, even as required by the Constitution under Section 24, and paying their taxes to the lawful authorities on time. But should they fail to do so, the system has been designed to find out if they under-declare or fail to declare, estimate their tax liability, and also mechanism to make the payment compulsory so that government can get the money that they need to get for the sake of society. So we haven't seen a lot of pushback because, to be honest, relatively, we're still very low for high income earners.
Let's take a look at exemption thresholds for low-income earners. The committee has called for the exemption of individuals earning up to 800,000 naira annually from personal income tax. How do you propose the government balance the need for revenue generation with providing relief to low-income citizens?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, and one or two states raised concerns. And their point was that this our exemption threshold. Someone said this is 90% of our taxpayers, that if we exempted all of them, they will not be able to get IGR. On one hand, that looks like a compelling argument. But if you look at the big picture of why is it that we collect taxes in the first place? We collect taxes so you can take care of the people. I hope that in my lifetime, Nigeria will get to a point where we're going to ask you how much do you earn. I mean, that amount is too small. Not only will you be exempted from paying taxes, we'll credit your bank account on a monthly basis so you can meet your basic needs. That is the essence of society. But if I even use the data, our data shows that these low-income earners we're exempting, they pay very small amounts of taxes, that on the nationwide basis, the amount we're talking about is less than 100 billion in a whole year for all the 36 states plus the FCT. This is not the kind of waiver that will make the sun to stop rising, right? The progressive amount where rich people pay a higher percentage will more than compensate for the exemption for the low-income earners. And someone was saying to me recently, one of the Internal Revenue Service chairpersons said that in fact they even took a state that is not even Lagos, because Lagos has a lot of rich people. So LRS should benefit from the high income and high rates that we have. But this is even a state that is not Lagos State. And what they did was they took some of their taxpayers and they were trying to simulate the impact of the changes to the tax band and rate. What they found is that about 7 people that were being exempted or asked to pay lower tax, one person who earns high income is paying more than all the 7 combined in terms of reduction. So one person overcompensates for the reduction for the 7. So I don't think that any tax authority or government should worry about the exemption. It is the right thing to do. We also need to bear in mind that the amount that government is sharing from federal allocation has improved significantly for two major reasons. One is subsidy removal. Who is paying those market price for subsidy? It's the Nigerian people. These same poor people pay more now for transportation, and that money goes to the government. That's what it means. We have FX. Naira used to be subsidized at about 460. It's now around 15. And that has impact on inflation, resulting in more revenue to the government that all the three tiers are sharing. Who is bearing the brunt? These same Nigerian people. So the least we can do is to give them some relief from the tax point of view when data shows that they're really struggling. And I think it's the right thing to do. I don't think that it would materially impact on the IGR of any state. And even if it does, it's for the right reasons.
Some arguments have anticipated a fiscal drag. Do you agree with this? And if yes, how is this new tax law set to address this?
Yeah, thanks a lot. So when you say fiscal drag, it has two meanings. And the first one is, are you dragging the wrong people into the tax net, into the highest tax rate? For example, the last time we did a significant review of the Personal Income Tax Act was in 2011. It's about 14 years now. Even the kids that were born at the time are already big enough to start thinking about going to university. So at that time, if you hit about 3.2 million naira taxable income, you were already at the highest rate, which is still is 24%. And today, that level of income doesn't make you even a middle class. You're someone just barely getting by. So should you pay the same rates on your marginal income as what a multi-billionaire would pay? No, that's not fair. So that fiscal drag has been corrected by the way we've designed the tax band and rates. You don't hit the 25 until you earn more than 50 million, which is certainly more than enough to make you even above middle class by our standard. And therefore, the fiscal drag issue, dragging poor people into the wrong rate of tax, has been addressed. The other bit about fiscal drag is whether there will be a drag on government finances. So the approach we adopted for the reforms is look at immediate, that's short term, medium, and long term. And whenever we had a conflict between our priorities in the short, medium, and long term, we allow long term to prevail. Because these reforms are not about just today, they're about the future of Nigeria and for generations yet unborn. But the good news is that when it comes to government finances, we actually have very compelling reasons to be confident that in the short, medium, and long term, government will be fine. One of the good news that we have is that based on the preliminary data of revenue collected by the FRS, by all the states, I think we have all the states apart from just one, it's not complete, customs service, and other taxes like royalty here and there, we actually hit over 13% of tax to GDP ratio for 2024.
Wow.
This is a first in a long time, and it's good news because
safe.
our target is to get to about 18% of tax to GDP ratio within the next 2 to 3 years. And I think we're on track, and it's good news for the country.
Given your advocacy for tax simplification and transparency, what specific measures would you recommend to make tax compliance more straightforward for individuals and businesses in Nigeria?
Yeah, simplification is important. I think it's Leonardo da Vinci who says simplicity is the ultimate sophistication, right? So if you really want your system to work, keep it simple. And how are we keeping it simple? First, by rewriting the rules. Some of the tax laws and I hope nobody will be offended. We're written like King James English. So you read and you're not even sure what the law is saying. It's already hard to pay taxes. Trying to figure out how much to pay is not the best way to encourage the taxpayer. So that is one. The other thing is, in terms of capacity to understand the tax system, they're just people who can't cope. They just can't understand it. Exempt them. They're too poor. Their priority is not trying to figure out how much money they made. Exempt those people. Then the next thing is, we also said to ourselves, the process of compliance. Why do you have to fill some elaborate forms? You know, some of the information we ask taxpayers to provide on a yearly basis are things that are out there that I should provide only once and the system should remember. In fact, I want to get to my tax returns to fill it, and it should be pre-populated. Government should already, the system should fill it for me, so I only just provide one or two things I can do in a few minutes. We actually want to get to a point where the low-income earners, the lowest people are exempted. The people that are not exempted and low-income earners should be able to file their returns on their phone, just tapping one or two things. Now, beyond that, we also believe that we need to connect with the people in the language that they understand. So we have a plan, once the laws are enacted, to translate them into Pidgin, Yoruba, Hausa, and Igbo.
Awesome.
In addition to that, we want to make it interactive because you may be speaking Yoruba and not be able to read and write. Why can't the system interact with you through voice prompts? So there's a lot of the use of even artificial intelligence that we're incorporating into what we're building now. So you can talk to the tax law, One of the very, the one that keeps me excited, part of the reforms, is a tax ombudsman. So because what we do now is we leave the poor people out in the cold. So if I'm a small business owner, I don't need to be a finance expert. If you come to me and say, "Oga, you never pay payee," so I'm going to say, "What is payee?" Maybe after explaining, I'm confused. I don't know whether I should have paid or whether I shouldn't pay, whether I paid correctly. So I'm now at your mercy as a tax officer. And in most cases, those people are made to pay the wrong amount, mostly overpay. Oftentimes, they pay to the wrong account because someone is taking advantage of them. And they have no resources to hire lawyers to defend them, and they cannot go to court by themselves or appeal tribunal. So the ombudsman will come in there with the resources of the states to defend our vulnerable taxpayers, low-income earners, small businesses. That's one thing. But also part of that we're building and trying to do is to have a call center. So, and that's part of simplifying the system. So you don't need to write, like if you have an issue today with the tax system, maybe somebody just gave you an assessment and said you should pay within 48 days or they'll lock up your premises. You don't need to write Queen's English or write an email or a letter. You just need to call the ombuds, right? And you can speak any language that is convenient for you. You can even be angry. You don't need to be official because that role has been created to defend you, to advocate for you. But this is not an excuse to not pay your taxes because if you're wrong, the ombuds will tell you that you're wrong and you must go and pay your taxes. So we are optimistic that the system will be far simpler after the reforms than it has been any time in our history.
Well, I still have a few more questions to aim your way, sir. However, we need to go on a short break.
All right.
It's time now to take a short break. When we get back, more questions for Mr. Oyedele. Stay with us.
Unlock the future of taxation. Join the most anticipated event in the tax calendar, the 27th Annual Tax Conference. Experience the ultimate blend of learning, networking, and celebration. This is your chance to gain insights from industry experts and thought leaders, to shape the future of taxation with policymakers and influencers, to connect with fellow professionals and expand your network, and to enjoy unforgettable gala nights, thrilling sport events, and many more. Theme is Taxation for Development, Policies, Law and Implementation. Date is May 12th to May 16th, 2025 at the Abuja Chambers of Commerce and Industry. Don't miss this opportunity to enhance your professional skills and knowledge, influence tax policies, and shape the future of taxation. Build lasting relationships with fellow professionals. Secure your spots now and be part of this milestone event. To register, please visit www.citnevent.org/events. We look forward to seeing you there.
Thanks for staying with us, and this is still the Tax Talk, and I have here with me Mr. Taiwo Oyedele on Corporate Talk, and we have been looking at the ongoing tax reforms. Does the bill make any provisions for tax incentives to encourage entrepreneurship and SME growth?
Yeah, the answer is yes. The biggest incentive, and this was one of the interesting conversations and debates we had during the formation and design of these bills. We identified what we call tax disincentives. You know, one thing about tax disincentive is it's costing the taxpayer money and it's not giving money to the government. So we prioritize removing tax disincentives, right? And then we ask ourselves, are there areas where we could provide incentives? And I'll say one of it is, you're a small business, your tax rate is 0%, you're a low-income earner, you don't need to pay taxes, those are incentives. But if you take it beyond that, we have what we call priority sector incentive scheme. We've identified critical sectors of the economy, okay? Whether you're talking about agriculture, manufacturing, industrialization, technology. Under that design, you will need a minimum amount of investment. We don't want everybody coming with 2 million naira to come and claim incentives. So we want big investments. But it also means that if you're too small, maybe you need to work together and do some mergers so it can be big and scale. So this incentive allows you to enjoy tax-free regime for 5 years. And in fact, if you invest a lot, the more you invest, the more the tax credits you get. That your benefit can extend for another 5 years. Altogether, you have about 10 years to make money, reinvest it, grow your business without having to worry about paying corporate taxes. And that for us is good because what we've done is to try and address the abuse and the loophole that we have in the current incentive systems, including pioneer status, where someone will tell you it's pioneer products, you give them incentives, they start importing the item and they're not paying taxes. We've also had a bit of, difficulty convincing people in the free zone. So we have the tax-free zone, where we even understand that some of them stop paying personal income taxes on their staff. The law did not give a free tax status to the employees. It gave it to the company. So as a company operating within the zone, your exemption does not extend to your employees, just as it doesn't extend to your suppliers. It's for you as a company. And even as a company, you must operate within the zone or export for you to enjoy full exemptions. Otherwise, you have to pay your taxes, including personal income tax on their employees. So we've addressed these wasteful incentives. We've addressed incentives that are distortionary to the economy. If you're in the free zone and you can produce whatever you produce there and sell it in the domestic market without paying taxes, I am in the domestic market paying taxes and producing the same product. You know what will happen? You will outcompete me and run me out of business, and you're not paying taxes. How would the government run? So for us also, it's about addressing distortions in the way we design incentives. We're not a very rich country in terms of the money we make. So we have to think about value for money in how we spend every naira and in fact every kobo that we earn, so that one, it generates more value than the cost to the government, and two, it does not create economic distortion, and three, that we are not incentivizing the wrong behaviors or the wrong sectors.
How does this bill align with Nigeria's broader economic policy objectives, such as reducing unemployment and boosting investments?
That was the starting point for us. Interestingly, we did an extensive amount of work in our committee. We went to all the development plans of Nigeria since independence. In fact, one of the development plans was before our independence. We looked at every single one of them. Interestingly, we didn't have a lot of differences in terms of the focus of those development plans. In fact, some of the plans we developed in the 70s, 80s will still be useful today because the challenges haven't gone away. We're still struggling with infrastructure, unemployment, high level of poverty, high level of illiteracy. Those issues are still here with us. So we said that your tax system must facilitate your aspiration as a people. If you want to go right and your policies are going left, they will not magically converge. You have to be intentional in ensuring that your systems are designed to accomplish your objectives. So if you're looking for employment, why are we making life difficult for companies and businesses? Why don't we make it easy for multinationals who are not even in Nigeria to hire Nigerians? The Philippines make over $30 billion a year from doing this. The Indians make $200 billion. Why can't Nigeria even just make $10 billion? Imagine 1 million young people in particular earning $1,000 to $2,000 a month in Nigeria. That is FX that will come in.
Yeah.
It will help us strengthen and stabilize the naira. Number two, that is cool money for those people. And in Nigeria, once you are earning income, you have 5, 6, 7 people that you are taking care of, from paying school fees to paying rent. And that just helps you to lift the quality of lives of the people as a result. So we've designed so many things in these reforms to promote employment, to promote businesses, to promote trade in even intangibles. We've done a lot there to also encourage entrepreneurship so that you don't have to always look for a job. Maybe you can create a job and hire other people. We have that as well. So to a very large extent, we believe that the reforms will pivot our conversation around development in the right direction, and more importantly, give us an alignment between our aspiration as a people and our policies.
Given that tax evasion remains a major issue, what enforcement mechanisms will be put in place to ensure better compliance without over-policing taxpayers?
Yes, we should not over-police. you know, today, you move around the country and you see roadblocks. Sometimes they'll put a wood and put nails on it and throw it to stop you to collect tax. These were the things they did in the days of Mongo Park, like during amalgamation in 1914. The world has moved on. In which country do you go to and people physically stop you to collect taxes? It's in our past. The future, and even today, that we have is we can leverage on technology. I was just saying to you the other time, if you're a big person, chances are that you have a bank account. If you refuse to pay your taxes, I will substitute your bank account for the amount you're owing government and collect the money. If you're not very big and you're owing taxes, it could be something as small as 2,000 naira. Chances are that you have a mobile phone. If you refuse to pay, I can substitute your mobile line for the amount you're owing government. Exactly. From the day I substitute you, any credit that you load, up to 2,000 naira goes to the government. So you can keep receiving calls, but you can't make calls. And you can't drop that phone because it's linked to your NIN. It links to other numbers. If you have 5 phone numbers, all of them are substituted, right? So which means we can enforce compliance today without seeing anybody physically. It's even more efficient. It's safer. There are people who reported that they were personally and physically attacked. So that's an assault because of taxes. You know, people are kicked. You remove the side mirror. You take their wares. They're chasing you. We're better than that. So we're using technology. We're using intelligence. And we're using simplification to enforce tax compliance once we determine that you need to pay taxes. Bear in mind again that majority of Nigerians won't have to worry about paying taxes under this new regime.
Mr. Oyedele, thanks for all you have said so far, but we would like you to leave us with your final thoughts.
Yeah, thank you for the interview and the questions. So I think first I'll say my final thought is one, to the government, and to the government I will be across all tiers of government. We need to prioritize the people in all our reforms and in all our policies. We also need to put the interest of the country first at all times. I'm of the view that if you find an alignment between national interest and your self-interest, then so be it. But if there's a disconnect between what benefits you as an individual and what is good for the country, you must allow the interest of the country to prevail. Otherwise, what you're doing is wickedness, and it's unfair. To the Nigerian people, my final word would be for them to see these reforms as our reform. So the reform of the Nigerian people. It should not be the reform of a political party. The president initiated it. We commend Mr. President, but these reforms goes beyond even Mr. President. It's about the Nigerian people, and that is the way we should embrace it. I would encourage people to try and seek the right knowledge, because if government has provided a relief for you, like an exemption, and you're not aware of it, somebody can still come and take advantage of you. So it's your responsibility to have the right knowledge. And those platforms are available from the Fiscal Reforms website to our social media accounts and many other engagement platforms that we have. We would like to commend Lagos State. So the governor of Lagos State has in particular been very supportive of the reforms, and so is the LRS as well. So for us, we want to pilot a lot of the reform initiatives we have at the state level with Lagos State and also with the FCT for very obvious reasons. And we're getting the level of cooperation, so we're grateful to them. We believe that Lagos State and the LRS will continue to set the example for Nigeria, so which means the success, the growth that we're looking for is going to be determined by who is leading it, right? If at the subnational level, the LRS is the leader, then everybody is following them. So we want them to be able to do well. We're not just comparing the LRS or Lagos with the other states. We're comparing them with other city-states in the world, like Dubai, like Singapore. That's where we need to be, and we think it's possible.
We can't thank you enough, sir, for all the clarifications you made today. I personally, I have learned quite a lot, and I would say again that I am honored for this opportunity to be sitting with you and chatting with you. Well,
it's my pleasure.
Well, we just want to say again, thank you for coming on the Tax Talk today.
Thank you for having me.
And that's it on this interview with the chairman of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms Committee, Mr. Taiwo Oyedele. We're going back to the studio. Stay tuned, the Tax Talk continues.
I just got back from that wonderful interview with Taiwo Oyedele, and I'm sure you enjoyed every bit of it. Now, every week, we look at tax-funded projects on the show. Today is no exception. It's now time for Tax Did It.
It might not be as quick as you want it, but we bring it to completion. You can imagine this place that used to be from Onipan on the Shomolu Ikorodu side of Lagos to Post Office Ogunbokun up onto Agege Motor Road of Lagos. Putting this overpass that will connect the two communities seamlessly, both in vehicular and pedestrian connection. You can imagine the economic value, journeys that hitherto will take, because the rail is, I'll talk about the rail, will have taken them 45 minutes, 1 hour just to go and turn all the way at Moshalashi or Jibo. All that are things of the past now. All that are things of the past now. Because you can do it in a safe and a secure environment. Over time, people used to pass the rail track illegally. Vehicles have lost a lot of tires, they've lost a lot of livelihood just attempting to navigate that. But more important is our solution to ensure that there is minimal disruption on the red line corridor. We promised 5 overpasses. This is the 5th one that this administration has promised, and we have delivered. We have delivered Pen Cinema, we have delivered Ikeja overpass, we have delivered Yaba overpass, we have delivered the overpass. Now this is the Mushi Onipan overpass.
My name is Oyedele Sale, and on behalf of the entire crew of the Tax Talk and the LRS, we say thank you for joining us and see you next time again.